Hey everybody, this is Pastor Rick Julian. I want to thank you for checking out Recharge. I believe tonight's encouraging word is going to bless you. So wherever you are and however you may be listening, we want to thank you for making this part of your day or your evening. Hey, we need your help, so we want to ask you to do three things. We want to ask you to like, comment, share. Like this. Let people know what you are checking out. Also comment. This is meant to be a community. So give us some praise hands. Give us some prayer hands. Let people know what you like. Emphasize something, but also share this. Go ahead, share it on Facebook. Maybe even afterwards, throw a watch party for some people you care about. Hey, tonight is going to be powerful. I believe that this is going to speak to you wherever you are. I know that God sees you. He cares about your situation. And I believe that God is going to use this to lift you up, inspire you, and encourage you because He cares about you. So let's go ahead, jump on in, check this out. Hey everyone, Rick Julian here with Bethel Church. I'm so excited to be with you for our midweek recharge. If you have your Bibles, turn with me to Genesis chapter 29. I'd like to bring to you a devotion that I think speaks to our day and our times and our country. And however you may be watching or wherever you may be watching this, I just want you to know that we are praying for you. We care about you. We love you and your family here at Bethel Church. We're thinking about you. And I just want you to know as a pastor, I believe that God sees you and that God is going to use this in your life. I think He's going to use this in the life of our country. And I believe that God's going to turn this around for our good and for the good of our country. I'm just believing in that in these times. I'm going to bring a devotion to you tonight about being in unwanted places. And at the end of this, I'm going to speak a little bit about what I think that means for our church in the weeks to come. But I believe today's passage speaks to today. So if you have your Bibles, open up to one of my favorite stories, Genesis chapter 29. It's one of my favorite stories because it has my wife's name in it, Rachel. I'm going to start off reading verses 16 through about 25. It says this. Now Laban had two daughters. The name of the older one was Leah, and the name of the younger one was Rachel. Now Leah had weak eyes. Now in the old language, the Hebrew, weak eyes is also translated cow eyes. Or in other words, this is another way of saying, hey, we think she's kind of ugly. Or it says this, but Rachel was lovely in form and figure and was beautiful. That comparison is how we understand that when it says Leah had weak eyes, meaning she's the ugly one. There's two sisters. One's ugly, one's beautiful. It goes on to say, verse 18, Jacob was in love with Rachel, the beautiful one. And he said, I'll work for her for 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel. Laban said, it's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me. So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife. My time is completed and I want to make love to her. Verse 22. So Laban brought together all the people of the place and he gave a feast. Verse 23. But when evening came, he took his daughter Leah, and he brought her to Jacob, and Jacob made love to her. And Laban gave his servant Zilpah to his daughter as her attendant. And when morning came, there was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban, what is this you've done to me? I've served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me? What's so interesting to me about this is that Jacob woke up with somebody unwanted. He wanted to marry Rachel, the beautiful sister. But when he woke up, he had married and been with Leah, the ugly sister. He thought he was getting one thing, and he actually got another. When 2020 rolled around, I bet you had a different vision for 2020. I bet you thought you were getting one sister and you got another. 2020, when you think about it, pastors have been preaching 2020 vision. It's the year of clarity. It's the year that God sees us. It's the year that things will clear up for you. But 2020 has been anything but beautiful. 2020 has been anything but Rachel. If I could be honest, 2020's been Leah. 2020's been ugly. I'll speak personally. When I read this passage, that's how I feel. I feel a little bit like Jacob. I wanted 2020 to be Rachel, but from the very beginning, it's been a Leah. I desired, I worked hard for 2020. This was the year of incredible plans and dreams for Bethel Church and Bethel School. As a matter of fact, we've been working on a vision plan for our facilities, our staff. We've been hiring staff, and we've been kind of expanding here at Bethel Ministries. And so we've been working hard in every area. We've had teams meeting. As a matter of fact, our church and school, we're working together on how do we get better as a church and school. And someone, one of our employees from school made a horrible mistake. It ended up in their dismissal because they made a mistake and they wouldn't correct it. And so what happened? What I thought was going to be a beautiful year ended up being an ugly year for our school, for our church, because we haven't met for 6 weeks, for our facilities, we missed an Easter offering, for our tithes and offerings, anytime you don't meet, things kind of go down. I thought this was going to be a Rachel year. I'm working with people that I love to work with. I'm serving a congregation, a community I love serving and being with. And I really thought this was going to be beautiful. How about you? Are you at a place where you had dreams that your marriage was going to be a Rachel, right? Maybe you got married and you thought, this marriage is going to be beautiful. We will talk and we'll play games and it'll be romantic and it'll be exciting and we're going to encourage each other. We're going to pick each other up. But maybe that marriage has turned out to be the ugly sister, Leah. It's not encouraging and it's not fun and games. It's not even easy. Maybe you thought this was going to be a year of Rachel joy. Instead of joy and happiness in your life, it's got anxiety and depression. It's got the ugly sister. Maybe this is the year that you thought financially it was going to be a Rachel. And instead of a financial Rachel, you got a financial Leah. So you can kind of identify with me. Anytime I read this story, I think of unwanted places and faces, right? I married a Rachel, and I think she is lovely. She is lovely in every way. But without a Rachel, you have to understand that God will use a Leah in your life. I want you to know, if you're watching this at home or at work or you're driving, God uses the Leahs in our life to prepare us for the Rachels. What I'm saying is he uses the ugly places. He uses the ugly faces to prepare us for the beautiful places and the beautiful places in our life. As a matter of fact, God will take you through a Leah period, a Leah summer, a Leah winter. He'll take you through a Leah plague. He'll take you through a Leah job. But what God wants to do is to see, are we faithful to the Leahs? And if we're faithful to the Leahs, then he knows he can trust us with a Rachel. But when you and I can't be faithful to a Leah season, a Leah place, a Leah face, a Leah person in our life, when we're not faithful to that period, then how could God possibly trust us with a Rachel? You know, often we'll go to bed dreaming that life is going to be Rachel. And then we wake up, that's not what happened. It's definitely a Leah. So how do we handle it? These two sisters couldn't have been different. Jacob was working for his dream girl, who was attractive and amazing. He was just dreaming about her. He woke up early thinking about her, so much so that he was willing to work for her for 7 years. It wasn't just a dream. He was striving. He was efforting. He was laboring for Rachel. Imagine putting in that work, that time, that energy, and then when you come to the time to marry, you've earned your wife. Maybe he had a little too much wine. Maybe he wasn't seeing, or maybe things weren't as clear as they should be clear. Or regardless, that night he goes to bed and it's not with the pretty sister, it's the ugly sister. And not because he knew it was Leah, he had been bamboozled, tricked, swindled, Jacob, the swindler, had been swindled by his uncle Laban. He wakes up, and it's Leah. I bet he woke up. Imagine 7 years of labor, toil, all that energy, all that effort, all those hopes, all those dreams thrown out the window. I bet he ran outside. I bet he ran outside, and I bet he yelled. I bet he screamed. I bet he cursed. I bet he threw things. I bet he was furious. And then Laban says, hey, we can work this out. You can have Rachel, but you got to work 7 more years. You know, oftentimes we get so focused on the Rachels in our life, the Rachel seasons, that we miss the blessings of the Leah seasons. I want to remind you what happens. He works 7 more years for Rachel and marries her. But I want you to know, Leah, even though she was the ugly sister, she was the bountiful sister. She is the one that gave him his children. Rachel, she was beautiful, but she was barren. No matter what you might be going through tonight, while you watch this, I want to remind you, it's the barren seasons that will bring you your creativity. Your greatest challenges might bring you to a new direction. It's the Leah seasons in your work and your marriage and your home life and your family life and your finances and your retirement. It is those ugly times that can be the most bountiful for your future. And when you are faithful to a Leah season, God can then trust you with a Rachel later. Let me show you what I mean by that. It says this, Leah gave birth, but it says that her first child was Reuben. That name Reuben means the Lord has heard my affliction. So when Leah gives birth to Reuben, the Lord has heard his affliction. I want you to know that it's okay to go with God and understand that you've been afflicted. Leah understood that she was the ugly sister. You know, it's okay to acknowledge that you've gone through a hard time. It's okay to acknowledge that this dream has now turned into a nightmare. It's okay to acknowledge that, hey, I woke up today expecting this and I got that. God can handle it. God gave Leah a Reuben, the Lord has seen my affliction. But I want you to know is that God is in control. You can trust him. There's a word, it's called sovereign, that he knows what we don't know. So we can trust him to be in charge because of his omniscience. He knows all things. He's omnipresent. He's all places. He knows what you don't know about your job. And so maybe if you weren't furloughed or laid off, maybe you would have never left. And because you would have never left, he could have never moved you to a better company later. I can't tell you how many hundreds of stories I've heard from someone who was loyal to the bone. They would have never left their company unless they were let go. And then after they were let go, they got another job, making more money, better retirement plan, better insurance plan, and better PTO or something like that. That's my prayer for you. So would you acknowledge a Reuben? The Lord has seen my afflictions. Once you acknowledge the Reuben in your life, Leah brings a Reuben. Lord, you see my affliction. I'm going to trust you. You see what I can't see. I trust you. You know what I don't know. She had another child too. She opens this womb up. She gives birth to a Reuben, but she also gives birth to a Simon. Simon, that word, her second son, means God who hears, or God has heard. If God put his ear to you, what would he hear? Would he hear griping? Would he hear complaining? Would he hear bitterness, bickering? Would he hear frustration? Would he hear a couple at each other's throats? Would he hear you yelling at your children or your children disrespecting you? What would God hear? My prayer for you during this time is that if God puts his ear to you, that what he hears in this barren time is that he hears your trust, that he hears your faithfulness, that he hears you praising him, that he hears your worship, that he hears you talking to him. Does he hear you? Does he hear you? Because he's listening. Simon, God who hears. She had a third son, Leah, the ugly sister. You know, this is like how men were really thought of as a blessing. If the more children you had, the more you were blessed. Her third son, Levi. Levi actually means the ability to connect things in life. In other words, it's like a brick upon a brick after a brick. It's like building a foundation. So when she has Levi, what she is saying, what Leah is saying, what Jacob is communicating to us is, hey, one thing leads to another, and each has its own purpose and plan and mission. When you go through a Leah season in your life and you have a Levi moment, what you are acknowledging to God is there's a purpose for this Leah. There's a purpose for this Levi. Lord, there's a reason I'm being let go of my job. There's a reason I can't pay this bill. There is a reason for this affliction. There is a reason for this hurt. There's a reason for the pain. There's a reason for this health crisis, for this pacemaker, for this headache, for this kidney disease, for my high blood pressure. There's a reason for this. And when you have a Levi moment, what you're saying is, Lord, that is a brick. It's a brick. It's a brick. I'm building a foundation. Lord, I'm building a foundation. This is a Leah season. I didn't know it was coming. It is ugly, but I'm trusting you with my Reuben. Reuben is, I see your affliction. I see what you're doing. I don't know what you know, but I'm trusting you in it. I can't see what you can see, but I'm trusting the foundation you're leading. Lord, then he puts another brick on there. It's called Simon, right? The Lord who has heard. Lord, can you hear me? Lord, can you hear what I'm saying? Can the Lord hear you? And then this third level brick, a Levi, the ability to connect. All of a sudden, you're able to see what God's doing in your life. Truth is, if you're watching this and you are a Creaster, maybe you only attend church Christmas and Easter only, it's hard for you to have these Levi moments because you're not connected to God enough to see it. Usually you don't arrive at a Levi moment unless you have an active prayer life where you're listening to God, right? Remember we said that's the Simon, God who hears. So you have affliction, right? Affliction is your Reuben. Then the God who hears, you're talking to him through Simon. And now we have this Levi moment. It's ability to connect. That comes through a regular prayer life, a regular Bible reading. When you get to that place as a follower of Jesus Christ, then your trust grows, your faithfulness grows, your loyalty grows in God. That's what leads you to a Judah moment. Her fourth son was named Judah. You know the name Judah. It means whose praise comes from God, not from man. Whose praise comes from God, not from man. I pray that you come to a point where you're able to just trust God and not care what a man thinks. Don't give a rip what anybody else thinks about your relationship with God. Hey, when affliction comes, when you have those Reubens, your ear turns to him. Lord, what are you telling me? This is the Simon, the God who hears. You have a Simon, what are you saying? Now a Levi. All right, Lord, I see what you're building. And then a Judah. I don't care what you think because God is building something in my life. I see him opening doors. I see him opening the windows for me to step out of. I'm trusting him with it. I want to tell you, I'm at that point as a pastor. So what are you talking about, Rick? If you're watching this and you're part of our Bethel family, you might be wondering, when are we going to open up? How are we going to open up? I want you to know I'm talking to all of our officials. I keep up with those who are making the calls. Technically, Louisiana is still in a stay-home state. And I'm well aware that some churches are not following those orders, and they are having services. I want you to know at Bethel Church, I care more about our people's well-being than I do their tithe dollars or their offerings. If we had a mass gathering at Bethel and someone had COVID, they received COVID from one of our gatherings, and if they died, I would never forgive myself. I couldn't do it. If one of you who are at risk with diabetes or obesity, I personally have a special needs daughter I'm worried about. Maybe you're a senior adult. Maybe you've had a bypass or two or pacemaker. If one of you got COVID from this place, I couldn't take it. So I want you to know at Bethel, we're going to be conservative in our approach back. I don't care what anybody else is doing. When the governor lets off of the stay-at-home ban, it might look like this. One, we would continue to social distance. I'm going to encourage masks, and our services might look more Catholic in nature. So we might be more spread out, and maybe our sanctuary gets full. We would have other spaces. We'd open up our gym and maybe put it on a screen where you could be social distance around a table 6 feet apart. Maybe we open up Kid City or even student impact rooms where we could fit a lot of people in, but in distance where you're still able to see each other from a distance responsibly. We would have people holding the doors where you didn't have to touch a door, but you could come in, you could elbow welcome somebody, and still see your friends, say hi to your friends. But hey, listen, we have doctors in our church, we have nurses in our church. Our COVID unit, as of today, is full. Nurses are getting COVID. People in our community are getting COVID that they're not even telling people, right? They don't want anyone knowing. Just because you don't know doesn't mean that God doesn't know. I'm just sharing with you as a pastor. I might know what you don't know. I might see what you don't see. Not because I'm prophetic, because I ask the right people the right questions. And at Bethel, I just want to share with you, we're going to go slow. We're going to be responsible because it's the wise thing to do. On another note, for all of you who contribute financially, I want to thank you for your generosity. I know we're not able to gather, and quite honestly, when we're not, churches don't gather as much money, right? You know, some people, they just put $20 in the plate every time the bucket is passed, and we missed that. We missed an Easter offering, which was $50,000+ last year. But if you were to tell me one of our friends here at Bethel with diabetes were to get COVID, it wouldn't be worth $100,000 if they die. If you said, hey, would you rather have $100,000 more in revenue and this person die from COVID? No, that's easy. It is easy. So Bethel, I want to ask you for your patience. And I want you to know I'm doing everything I can to honor the Lord, to honor our community, your family, your friends. And I want to thank you for those of you who are being faithful to the local church during a Leah season. I want to thank all of you who are giving online at bethelfamily.net, who are faithful with your tithe. Because of that, we're able to keep this incredible staff. But most importantly, Bethel Cares has fed over 70 families. We have provided care kits that are about $55 a box to people in our community. You are making a tremendous difference. I want to thank you for praying at the hospitals where we just show up social distance practically, but we were praying. We actually fed all of the nursing stations. We sent food to 15 nursing stations at the hospital. Today, we're actually collecting letters and encouragement cards for everyone who works at our hospital and has to go home with the fear of bringing COVID home to their children or their family or their friends. Also, we're even taking other goodies today. We continue to minister to our community because of your generosity. I just wanted to say thank you. And I wanted to give you a little picture into my thoughts of what a relaunch would look like. I do expect this Sunday is going to be online. But I bet in May, we can be able to talk about gathering in a responsible way, but it won't look like what it used to. It'll look different, and I'll keep you posted.